Welcome to EPG Pathshala. I'm Dr. Shweta Singh. I have completed my PhD from the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication at Banaras Hindu University. Basically, I'm a corporate communication professional, but my PhD work has been in development communication and my interest area lies in radio. We would be discussing the module Specialized Radio Programming today. The objectives of this module are to tell the difference between general radio programming and specialized radio programming, to know about some of the successful radio programs created around specific subjects in India, to understand the kind of issues that are being targeted in the programs discussed, and in the end to further discuss the role of radio as a tool in addressing pressing issues in current times. Any form of media, films, television, online, print, or any other medium, carries an inherent social responsibility with it. Radio is no exception in this case. One of the reasons for this inherent social responsibility is the immense reach and penetration the media enjoy in today's scenario. The more important reason, however, is the fact that media have a much stronger ability to influence mass audience than any other form of communication. The proliferation of various media forms has been exponential, and it's almost impossible for audience to remain uninfluenced from the impact. Media has gone beyond the basic functions of providing information and entertainment to actually shaping the outlook of an entire society. Therefore, the responsibility various media channels carry on their shoulders is enormous. In this unit, we would be looking at the initiatives of the radio industry that go beyond merely entertaining the audience and attempt to inform or educate them about chosen issues. These initiatives take the form of specialized programs that are created around numerous subjects, starting from broad areas like education and health on national broadcasters to discussing specific local issues through community radio. Specialized programs are a vibrant confluence of knowledge and entertainment. We would discuss the major areas in which specialized programs have been successful in India, besides talking about some of the popular programs under each theme. Although majority of the specialized programs are produced in India by the All India Radio, in the past 2 decades, many noteworthy attempts have been made by community radio stations and private radio channels as well. So basically, what is specialized radio programming? Radio programming refers to the content that is created and organized for public broadcasting from a radio station. When we talk about specialized radio programming, in its simplest sense, it means radio programs that are created to fulfill specific purposes besides engaging the audience in an entertaining manner. The creation of any radio show is a lengthy process involving decisions about the format of the show, type of content, audience connect, and creative inputs. However, the creation of a specialized show is far more complicated than a regular show, as the purpose is not just to entertain or engage the audience, but also to create an impact. For example, say a particular episode of a specific show focuses on hand washing. The issue is extremely simple and widely repeated, but yet a very large percentage of the target audience does not practice it. The challenge for the makers of the show would be to incorporate elements that persuade them to actually wash their hands before every meal. They could include statements from doctors, but too much advice could make the show less interesting and lead the audience to turn to another channel. Therefore, the creative team of any specialized show needs to work very hard in order to make it possible to engage the audience. In most cases, subject experts are consulted first once the theme of the show has been decided. For example, if a show has to be created to spark the interest of school children in history, the makers of the show would consult eminent historians, professors, and school teachers in order to gain necessary understanding and collect raw information about the subject. After that, the material would be shared with the production team, who would make decisions relating to the format, content, etc. This does not mean that the subject experts and production team would be isolated from each other. There would obviously be multiple discussions before the show is finally made and aired. Now we would move on to discussing the areas of specialized programming. Radio is a powerful mass medium which has been widely used for various purposes since its inception. Its use as a tool to effect change in various specialized areas is only growing. The following are the major themes around which specialized radio programs have mostly been created, particularly in India. The first one is that of education. Programs on science, music, history, literature, current events, these are mainly the issues which constitute the specialized programs in the area of education. The next would be children's programs, which include early learning, adolescence issues, school programs, educational support, and the like. Next would be agriculture, programs on general farming, animal husbandry, fisheries, dryland and wasteland agriculture, and many other such themes are covered, particularly by the All India Radio in our country. Health is another issue which has majorly been covered by the national broadcaster in our country and other community radio stations as well. Programs on disease prevention, sanitation, hygiene, and nutrition are basically the areas in which health specialized show focus on. In the end, social issues, issues related to women empowerment, education of the girl child, family planning, environment protection, cultural issues, all such issues come under the gamut of social issues which programs around which are broadcasted by the All India Radio, by community radio stations, and even private FM radio channels in India as well. The above, however, is not an exhaustive list of areas around which special radio programs have been produced. However, the above constitute the major share of specialized radio programming in India, so we would primarily be focusing on these particular areas in this module. One of the first to use radio for specialized programming was British Broadcasting Company in the United Kingdom, which took up education through radio just 2 years after starting broadcasting in 1922. Currently, various local radio stations are now in operation in England, each of them broadcasting locally devised programs. Australian Broadcasting Corporation introduced educational broadcast in 1929, where representatives from schools assisted their earlier attempt. Early 30s saw the beginning of school broadcast in United States of America. American School of the Air has had a significant contribution by broadcasting daily programs on science, music, and history. Educational radio, however, was contributing more significantly in the developing countries, where it covered various fields of development including agriculture, health, adult education, or family planning. In India, education was first taken up by radio in January 1929 in Bombay. This was on an occasional and informal basis, which was followed at Madras next year in April. School broadcast was started with a view to educate the unprivileged pupil. It was in November 1937 that the All India Radio took up educational broadcast in a systematic and regular manner in Calcutta. This was after getting requests from University of Calcutta and the Education Department of the Bengal government. In India, radio has been used for educational purposes in almost all possible fields. Radio, for a considerably long time, has been the only instrument to reach the masses in our country, a fact which led to its optimal utilization as an educational tool or channel. All India Radio, which is a government medium, has an objective to broadcast education with information and entertainment. Therefore, the educational element is ingrained in almost all of its broadcasts. Some of the notable educational serials on AIR include Vidya-mitra, which was aired between June 30th to September 30th in 1989, with a vision to promote scientific temper among children in the age group of 10 to 14 years. It was produced in collaboration with the NCSTC. 140,000 children had registered themselves at the AIR stations across the country as dedicated listeners. It had many unique features, which included simultaneous production in regional languages, wall charts, and do-it-yourself science kit for registered listeners, quizzes and contests based on the content of the show, and prizes which were given away to 14,000 children. All these features made Vidya-mitra one of the first successful educational serials on Indian radio. Following the success of Vidya-mitra, AIR and NCSTC produced Manav Ka Vikas. It was a weekly program broadcast on Sunday mornings. It became hugely popular and had a historic 144-week run starting in June 1991 up till February in 1994. Broadcast in Hindi and 17 regional languages simultaneously, it had 100,000 children and almost 10,000 schools registered as dedicated listeners. We now move on to children's programs. Another popular genre for fulfilling its objective of providing education with information and entertainment is that of children's programs. Children programs are broadcast from all stations of AIR, both regional and local, on a weekly basis in different languages. These programs are designed for the age groups 5 to 7 years and 8 to 14 years. Special programs for rural children are also broadcast from AIR stations. Plays, short stories, features, choral singing, interviews, stories from epics are part of these broadcasts. Children's Day is celebrated on November 14th as Bal Divas with special children activities, stage shows and invited audience programs. One of the initial successful children's shows in India came in 1992 under the Cheer program. The full form of this was Children's Enrichment Experiment through Radio. This program was meant for socially deprived children in the age group of 3 to 6 years enrolled in Anganwadis. It was carried out in the states of Andhra Pradesh, Orissa, Haryana and Uttar Pradesh for a year starting from October 2nd in 1992. It was a joint venture of All India Radio, Department of Women and Child Development and National Council of Educational and Training. The serial attracted target audience and policymakers alike with a continued demand to replicate the experiment in other languages. More recently, in 2011, All India Radio was nominated for International Children's Day Broadcasting Awards for its special presentation Joy Live, which was created in collaboration with Air India. This was an infotainment program in which complex society problems were presented in a child-friendly language. The young people presented every part of the live show, from news reading, announcements and interviews to outside recordings, songs and dramas. The drama featured a young woman who wanted to become an aeronautical engineer and fly a plane, something which was not considered possible for girls of our society. There were interviews with a magician, a boy who worked to fight polio, a female black belt holder in martial arts, and a testimonial from a young activist working to clean up garbage in the community. The show is a testimony to the intricate planning and creative efforts that are required to create a successful children's show. Now we move on to agriculture. Besides education, agriculture is the area in which radio has contributed most significantly. In India, the All India Radio has exclusively served this area until the advent of community radio. All India Radio has been serving rural audience for more than 50 years. All stations of All India Radio broadcast farm and home programs directed at rural audience. Special programs have been designed keeping in view the day-to-day seasonal needs of the farming community. These programs not only provide information about agriculture, but also create awareness about the ways and means to improve the quality of their lives. They are made around a diverse set of topics that include land and water conservation, sustainable agriculture, biotechnology, integrated pest management and crops, crop insurance schemes, environment protection, disaster management, and the role of panchayats in rural development. These programs are produced with the help of subject matter experts in different formats such as dialogues, discussions, talks, interviews, features, serials, dramas, jingles, and phone-in programs. Kisan Vani, which is an exclusive project on mass media support to agricultural extension, needs special mention here. Started by AIR in collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture from the 15th of February in 2004, it informs local farmers about the daily market rates, weather reports, and day-to-day activities in their area at the micro level. Kisan Vani is being broadcast from 96 FM stations of All India Radio. Although not directly linked with agriculture, wildlife and forest conservation are treated by All India Radio as a challenge. Emphasis is given on development activities as well as social ritual that tend to protect and nurture the environment. All India Radio spreads awareness about and projects the success of governmental initiatives which take place in forestry, wildlife conservation, and ecological balance. All the AIR stations give wide publicity to legal factors concerning environment and forestry. We'll now be discussing health as an area of specialized radio programming. The role of radio is especially commendable in the area of health awareness. Radio has immensely contributed in various health campaigns on immunization, polio, blood thalassemia, eye donation, maternal care, child survival, medical termination of pregnancy, management of reproductive tract infections, and STIs, that is, sexually transmitted infections. An example of one of the most successful radio shows in the area of health is that of Radio Date. This was a 30-episode series broadcast in 1989. All India Radio created the show in collaboration with the Indian Council of Medical Research with a vision of educating the listeners about the dangers of drugs, alcohol, and tobacco and guiding them on how to discontinue such addictions. The program was broadcast to 1 lakh registered listeners across 84 stations. In a random survey conducted in rural areas, it was revealed that in Karnataka and Goa, over 31% of the users had reduced the frequency of use of drugs, and about 95% of the listeners rated the program as very good. In fact, 92% of the users of such products believed that the program would help them in discontinuing such addictions. A major initiative under health programming on radio in the recent times was that of Swasth Bharat. The Ministry of Health and Family Welfare of the Government of India signed an MOU with the Prasar Bharati for the broadcast of a 30-minute health magazine program for 5 days a week over 29 stations of All India Radio. The program was launched on April 7, 2012 on the occasion of World Health Day. The main aim of the campaign was to inform and educate the listeners on health issues through the terrestrial reach of Prasar Bharati. A workshop was held in Delhi a month before the launch of the program to brief the producers about the content and format of the program. The ministry also finalized the list of experts available in each state who would participate in the programs over different subjects regarding the health of people. We'll now move on to social issues. Social issues happens to be one of the most pervasive themes that specialized programs in All India Radio and other radio channels are also produced around. Ranging from family life to women empowerment to cultural identity and national integration, most issues that affect majority of the population come under this umbrella. One of the most popular and extensively discussed Indian radio show in this regard is Tinka Tinka Sukh. This was a 104-episode radio serial drama broadcast between 1996 and 97 by the All India Radio in partnership with Population Communications International, that is PCI. Both AIR and PCI had had previous successful entertainment educational dramas on radio and television, the most famous one being Hum Log on Doordarshan. This story, the story of Tinka Tinka Sukh, was set in a farming community of North India and carried different themes pertaining to village life, education, dowry system, women empowerment, besides talking about difficult issues like AIDS, which was still not properly known to rural people back then. All the issues were weaved beautifully in the storyline through carefully crafted characters. Besides programs like Tinka Tinka Sukh, which had a very broad set of target audience and covered a wide array of social issues, All India Radio also produced specialized shows focusing on specific target audience from time to time. For example, back in 1989, AIR came up with Jeevan Saurav, a show made for teenage children targeting adolescence issues. The show was created in the wake of rapid socio-economic changes that were taking place in the society and the fact that young minds were not capable in coping with the same. It was one of the first shows which discussed tabooed issues like teenage sexuality, besides talking about intergenerational conflicts, career choices, and personality development. Women constitute a significant percentage of radio listeners. It's a medium which they can enjoy while carrying out with their usual routine. This is only one of the reasons why AIR broadcasts so many women programs. These cover subjects related to socio-economic development of women, health and family welfare, food and nutrition, scientific home management, women entrepreneurship, education including adult education, women empowerment, gender issues, and many such issues. These programs also aim to create social awareness about certain issues which are not discussed on other forms of media, for example, films and televisions. In many community radio programs, Some programs have been focusing on themes like equal land rights for women. These have not been discussed in mainstream media like the films or television or even newspapers for that matter. So we can see that radio, particularly community radio or special programs from the AIR, have the ability to discuss certain issues with the people which the traditional forms of media, excluding radio, don't have. And radio enjoys a reach in the rural population which no other media form has. So they have the responsibility of discussing the difficult issues related to women and related to other social issues, subjects. So this was the module titled Specialized Radio Programming for you. Thank you.